I like to tell people that even while you're in the middle of like a situation, remember that the biggest train wrecks in your life are going to become the stories that you milk for decades. It's just it might seem horrible right now, but that's going to become a story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And stories we tend to laugh at. We tend to look back and we start with time and distance, we start to see the absurdity and the humor in things.
Right. Welcome to the Closing Table Podcast. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh. Joining us on this episode, excited to talk to another real estate professional. We want to welcome Sonja Baker to the Closing Table. How are you, Sonja?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for being available and sharing great information that's going to be valuable for our audience. But before we even dig into that, we like to talk to the person. So first and foremost, tell us who you are outside of real estate, please.
I mean, so Kevin, the stereotypical answer I think that you always get from is I'm a wife and a mother. Right?
This is true.
So
This is
I
true.
have a son that's 20 years old. My daughter Abigail is 12. They're seriously some of the funniest people that I know, and they continually amaze me. Rory and I have been married for 23 years, still having a blast.
Congratulations.
Beyond that, I love comedy and
Hmm.
Marvel movies and the comics, and I'm a huge Stephen King fan. Like I I just
Okay.
he has so many. I didn't discover him till like about 4 years ago, and then I'm like, oh, just consuming everything that he's
Right, right.
got.
I love that. I love that. I didn't. Okay, so now that explains why we had so much fun before we even hit record. You like comedy too. I
Oh yeah,
love that. All right, cool, cool. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I like that. Yeah, that makes life a lot easier, right? A lot better. We already deal with so much, so many distractions, so many hurdles. Find some joy, find some laughter, find a way to pass that forward, make life better, make the world better. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, I love that. I love that. All right, so you're a real estate professional, though. So let's
yes.
focus on that going forward. I
All right.
want you to talk about, first and foremost, how and why you became a real estate professional, and then just go into describing your strategies, your methods, your whole real estate business in general.
Oh man, I love that. So I worked in the live entertainment industry for my entire career, from the time I was 20 years old until COVID hit. Really,
Mhm.
I'm a ticketing professional. I ran box offices, the concert security, and all the people
Mm.
side of things. Just worked with people all the time. I had a team of people I worked with, and I love to help my teammates. Then COVID hit
Yep.
and everything stopped like immediately. I lost my entire team. And I just, as time went on, I didn't know if it was going to come back. And
Mhm.
so I started looking around, and what I realized was that I had been pushing and pushing for my entire life, just working like crazy. And the majority of the concerts in Northern Michigan are in the summers. So I had, I was working like crazy. And that summer,
Mhm.
I realized I don't have to work like mad anymore. And I have given up so much time with my kids who were getting older. My son was 16 at the time. And so I was like, what else can I do? What else could I do that uses these same skills of solving problems and putting together puzzles and connecting with people? I didn't want to give up that part of what I do with the people. It's so much fun. Something that I
Mhm.
loved in live entertainment was seeing people come together at the end and have like this experience at a show that they just walked away happier, and
Mhm.
started thinking, how can I still help people in that way? And being able to help people in their lives on a one-to-one basis that helps them get from a point where they're frustrated with something about their current situation into a house that they're just pleased with is it's fantastic. And one of the things I tell people is that um, You remember the character in Pulp Fiction, Mr. Wolf? He's kind of the fixer.
Yeah, yeah,
So
briefly. Yep, yep.
yeah, he shows up and he says, "I'm Winston Wolf and I solve problems." And that's how I see myself. I'm Sonja Baker. I solve problems. That's what I do.
There it is.
Yeah,
There it is. I love that too because problems are going to arise. How are you going to handle them? How are you going to even look at them before you even handle them? And then just to think, hey, I solve problems. I'm just looking for solutions.
yeah.
That's a whole mindset right there. And not everyone adapts that mindset, to be quite honest. So that's a unique characteristic and trait, by the way, and very valuable. And I love that. I love how you make the relation between the live events and real estate. At first, I'm thinking I didn't necessarily see it, but it's a great point. Let me tell you why. Because I worked in radio, so I know all about live events, getting people there, and you know what I'm saying, people having a great time. People love to go to those type of things. That's where you can just take a load off. You can be yourself. You're more than likely with friends. You can, you know what I'm saying. You're literally just finding a place of comfort in some sort of way and enjoyment, entertainment. You literally find that exact same thing in a home.
Oh,
Comfort, being yourself, being relaxed, finding your entertainment, all of that. I could definitely see the correlations there. And you literally pretty much get the same reaction when someone finally has the keys to their own home, the excitement that they have, almost the same exhilaration that they'll have at a concert for a few hours. But they get that for a lifetime or for years when they have that home. So great,
oh,
great way to drive that correlation right there. That was beautiful. That was poetry in motion.
oh, thank you, thank you. One of the things that I really I've noticed is that people in my generation, I'm Gen X, and then the older millennials, but we're busy, busy people. We tend to be stressed out,
Mm,
but we're
mm,
finally at that point in our lives where in our careers where we can look for that next step. And I
there
mean,
you go.
so many of us grew up, with gaming, and so I like to say we're leveling up at this point in our
There you go.
lives. We're
Love that.
leveling up that, and we don't have to just keep settling. And that's something that COVID taught me, is let's not just
Mhm.
keep settling for driving across town in the car, an hour a day, there and back and there and back,
Yeah.
and you know not being able to have your friends come over because you really don't have space in your house. Your kids are getting older. Finally, your kids are getting older, and you could have your own friends come over.
Yeah.
If you don't have the space because you're in the same little house you were in, at the first of your marriage, then yeah, you need that. I think that as
Yeah.
our kids get older, we need to reach back out to our friends and reconnect in a way that we might have lost touch of.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. That's deep right there. Now you really going into a whole nother. Now that's the one right there. So I want to talk about the market that you're serving currently. So let's describe it. Maybe for
Mhm.
people who've never been there. Describe your market geographically, please.
Oh, Kevin, it northern Michigan is just one of the most magical places that I've ever seen, especially in the summertime. And that's why people come here, right? They come here for summertime in Michigan. It's just
Hmm.
beautiful. I grew up in Oklahoma, and there's there's
Hmm.
some small lakes, but there's not a lot of lakes, and it is hot. It's just really, really hot in the summer, and so I never spent a whole lot of time outside. If you wanted to go for a run, you better get up and be out there before 6 a.m. because it's gonna get
Wow.
hot on you.
Wow.
So, or just be used to sweating. So I never spent that much time outside till I came up here. And then there's just lakes and hiking trails, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Everywhere you look, there's another beach. In the summers, my family and I move onto our boat. We keep it at Harbor West here on the Traverse Bay, and just live there. And if you've not lived around this much water, let me tell you, it's this calming
Peace.
effect. Just
Yeah.
every bit
Oh.
of
Oh.
worry and life is just gone. And the ability to have that close by instead of having to go visit that kind of life, it's worth everything. And the same with the woods. People absolutely, it's quiet and it's peaceful and you're just in nature. But at the same time, we're all very close to like Traverse City, where you can still
Mhm,
get great restaurants,
mhm.
and there's places to shop, there's stuff to do. We've got a comedy festival again. It went away for a while and it came back. There's
Nice.
always something. The Cherry Festival, local sometimes we don't want to go anymore. It's fantastic. There's people, there's stuff to do. So you're not alone, but you can be alone.
Mhm. See, that's a beautiful mixture of different things, right? You get a little bit of the city life, country life, the water life, the we have great winters if you love the winter, if you love the seasonality of the market, great winters, beautiful summers like you said, and
Oh,
if
and
you
the
get out if you get
fall. Oh, the
come
fall.
on. Come on
Oh
now.
my goodness.
I look, I said, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe we missed that." We're in
I
Michigan. How
know.
can we miss that? Of
Oh, it's
course, the
gorgeous.
fall. Come
I
on.
never saw fall until I moved
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
It's like hot
yeah,
in the summer in Oklahoma, then all the leaves just fall off and it's winter. Like I never saw this kind of fall.
yep, yep. Beautiful foliage. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you though. When you said that, I one thing I learned today. Oklahoma is hot like that. Oklahoma is
Yeah.
hot like that.
Yeah, I'm in the southwest corner, pretty near Texas, but yeah, it's
Really?
not Houston hot. I mean, it doesn't have that sort of humidity like you
Right,
get
right, right.
in Houston, but it's
But I
hot.
never would. Yeah, I never even
We
thought that.
count the number of snow days here in Oklahoma. We would count the number of days that the temperature got over 100, and sometimes
Oh
it's
no.
on and on. We're not
Oh
Phoenix, but it's,
no,
it's
no,
hot.
no, no. I am okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. Yeah. So what a switch. What a change of environments for you. All right. So let's talk about your market economically now. What
Yeah.
data, information do you have that describes your market? What can you tell us about it?
Okay. Up here, it ranges from yeah, I mean, you can find the multi-million dollar homes on the bay, that sort of thing that you're looking for. You can find houses that are on smaller lakes that are actually more within reason for a lot of professionals that are
Hmm.
well established in their careers, and so there's a lot of stuff. There's also some houses that are in the 250 to 350 range. Now, those are the ones that are still going super, super fast
I
because there's
bet.
not a
Yeah.
whole lot in that range. So, whenever I'm working with somebody who is in that sort of range between 250 and 350, which is, to be honest, most of us, that um, we have to be really ready to jump on it as soon as we find the right house. Can't wait around because those are still going just as fast as they were, before things started to turn a little bit. At least up here in this area, I'm seeing that above that price range, we're starting to see that timeline lengthen out a little bit, but it's still definitely a seller's market. um, so it really does come down to, let's just be ready, know what you want. So I talk with my clients a whole lot up front and get to know what it is that they're looking for and how to best get them into that sort of home so that we don't have to just like keep looking and looking and showing stuff that they don't really want or that they don't qualify for, because we're going to have to move fast. One of the things that I think is really important is pricing the houses right. Uh,
Hmm.
like I said, I worked in ticketing forever, and so I know a lot about pricing things properly to move. I really hate discounts. I don't want to
Oh
have
wow.
to. I don't want to have to take to do a price reduction on somebody's house because I feel like it devalues your product, regardless if it's a house, a concert ticket, whatever it is that you're selling. Whenever you give a discount or decrease the price, you have devalued your product by more than the amount that you just decreased it. And
Mm.
if you can price that house properly right out the gate, you don't want to leave money on the table and price too low. But if you price too high because you're like, it would have gone for this in 2021,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Don't price it like that. Price it according to today's market right now. Get it sold. I always say, let's go with a local lender. They know the market here. They are way easier to get in touch with, and they're going to go above and beyond to get, they'll call the other agent, they'll call that selling agent and vouch for you. And that's really important. It's important to make sure that your finances are in order. But beyond those technical skills or those technical things that we're talking about, the things
Mhm.
that you check off the list, make sure you are mentally ready. You have to be mentally prepared and emotionally prepared for the process. It can be draining. It really can. If you've put offers in on multiple houses and haven't got the house,
Mhm.
it can get
Mhm.
really exhausting.
Yeah.
I've also
Yeah.
had people that the first house we see would have been perfect for them, but think that something better might come along, or they're just really not ready emotionally to pull the trigger on that house, and then they regret it the
Yeah.
whole rest of the time. Not
Yeah.
always, sometimes
Yeah.
the next
Mhm.
best is the next, but so many times we're looking at a house 3 months down the line and they go like, I should have got that one.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know, I know.
Yeah.
Be
I can
ready.
see that.
Know what you want. If you know what you want and get your head in the right space like that, we're gonna rock and we're gonna find it. Yeah, because
That was,
we don't
yeah, that's
unless
great
we know.
advice. No, that was great advice. I can see I've had friends who went through that type of situation. Even my mom, I remember back when she was shopping for a home when I was in high school, and she kind of like, well, let me just keep seeing what else is out there. It's like, if you know what you want and that's right there presented to you, take advantage of it right now. That opportunity is not going to be there all the time. It's not going to be there for long whatsoever. So, yeah, yeah, you have, and I like that you clarified. Be ready, get ready. You have to be like, especially in the seller's market, a buyer has to be ready. In a buyer's market, a seller has to be ready, and vice versa. So,
Right.
that was a great perspective to add right there. That's a great perspective. I'm glad you did that. You have a different type of method though, which now that we talked about you living on the water and spending some time there, I kind of understand it now. You say you have a Serenity Now
Yes.
method, just bringing that peace, reducing stress for the home buying process for your clients. Can you talk about this Serenity Now method? Just describe it and then talk about a situation where that actually came into play and helped your client out.
Oh goodness, yes. I so to start out with, I love the word serenity and that idea of peacefulness, but every time I hear the word serenity, especially Serenity Now, I think of the Seinfeld episode where George's dad would like yell, Serenity Now! It's like he would get worked up when he yells this, and it just makes me laugh. And I love it because it's got these two sides. And I think
Mm-hmm.
if anybody who grew up watching Seinfeld gets that connection and laughs, that's even better. I love that. But
Right.
really what I want for people is that peace.
Yeah.
We are, like I said, we're so busy. We just don't have the time to be going and looking for houses and looking for houses. And so my method is to try to be as flexible and offer as many opportunities to reduce those points of friction. Some of those points of friction tend to be that, like I said, you don't have time. You've got to take kids to soccer and then taekwondo and then just pick them up from regular school. And
Mhm.
then half the days you work from home, but you still have to drive across town to do something else. And then the other days
Mhm.
you've got to go into the office to check in with your team, and then get grocery shopping and go to the doctors and everything in between. We just don't have the time to add this in there. Um, Things such as you want to get your house prepped and ready. You've done the work to get rid of all your extra stuff. It's it piles up,
Yeah.
and we will seriously fill up any type of space we have. Right? You have a
Mhm.
one
Mhm.
bedroom, you're going to fill it up. You've got a three bedroom with a pole barn, you're going to fill it up. So
That's a
you've done
fact,
the
brother.
work.
Yeah, that's
You
real.
got rid of your stuff, but then now you've got to clean your house too, not just like clean it because people are coming over and you're gonna go clean it real fast. Oh, okay, now they're not gonna look in a closet; they're gonna look everywhere,
They're looking everywhere.
and they're gonna notice like that your fans are dirty and your baseboards are dirty. So I try to hook people up and help them find and set up even those cleanings, and making sure that if they're not living in the house, that we have hooked them up with and helped them set up that the lawn keeps getting mowed and the driveway keeps getting plowed, because there's nothing for I took somebody to a house one time and we couldn't even get to the house because the driveway had so much snow in it. I was like,
Things
okay,
like that.
I guess if
Just
we want to
it's
come
a
back with a shovel,
yeah,
they're like, let's
right?
move on, move on.
It's just
And
it's
so
the little things.
I want to avoid that. So
Mhm.
anything that I can do to help ease those points of friction by giving either advice, setting them up with the right people, because also we don't have time to go researching who the right people, who somebody that's reputable. Um,
Right.
if I can help with that, it's even better. You asked about a specific case. I had a woman named Ashley that I was working with, and she was exactly that same sort of situation. Soccer mom. She worked in Petoskey, and so she was already driving quite a bit,
Mhm.
and she didn't have time to be taken off of work. And so what we did was did mostly virtual showings. I've done a lot of virtual showings for people that live far away. Lots of people from California that are moving here, but
Really? Okay.
yeah, but this lady, we needed to do some virtual showings. Sometimes I just go in and film stuff and describe it, and make sure to describe things like the smells, because you can't see that on
Right.
video, and people can be really sensitive to the smells. Like, does
Mm.
this basement smell like mold? Has this been somebody smoked in this house for the last 20 years? Just, you
Mhm.
should know that and not have to take time off of work if you really can't, to come down and see it. So found a house that, at least by our virtual walking through while she was at soccer practice sitting in her car waiting, um, we found one she really liked, and so she took off work for that house and came out the one time and found something she just really liked. But I was closer to those houses. I could go over
Yeah.
and do that, and
Mhm.
she would have had to take off, half a day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, just adding on to her plate just made things a little bit more stressful, a little bit more inconvenient, and that's why I completely understand that Serenity Now approach. Just make things a lot less stressful. Life is already stressful as parents, and it's just adults with full time jobs and responsibilities. We're already stressed. Then we're talking about buying a home on top of that.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot to deal with. So if you can do any and everything that you can in your power as the professional to take all of the to alleviate as much as that stress and get it up off of them, that's definitely what you should do. And
Yeah.
it seemed like that was a perfect example of you actually executing. So hats
Ab-
off to you in the work that you do.
Absolutely. And it's important to keep keep in mind the benefits that you have from moving, because it's a process. It's going to take a while. And
Mm-hmm.
even if we find something right out the gate, even if your house sells immediately, you're still going to have to, you know, prep your house, get all your stuff packed up. It's moving, at least for most people, really isn't super fun. But
Oh
what
no.
you're
Oh
doing
no.
is you're going from a
No.
place that
No.
you are, you know, it's not that you're not happy there, but there's something that is not as smooth in your life as you want it to be. There's something
Mm-hmm.
that you're missing, whether that is space or location of the house. I've had a lot of people tell me they love their house, but they hate the location, you know, and so
Sheesh.
it's no longer near where they're living or where
Yeah.
their lives are. And
Mm-hmm.
they have to drive a long way to get to whatever tart trails and beaches that they just love. And so it's that transition from a place you're that you're not completely happy when you come home, the place that you have to like go somewhere else to enjoy life and to have that
Right.
peace, to moving to that point of peace and happiness and fulfillment. So that point in between, that's not always the most fun. If I can help make that a more smooth transition and help keep you have that vision in your mind, and don't lose sight of that vision and what it's going to be like when you finally get there.
Good point. Good point. Good point. Love that. Part of that process is also, which I will understand is very, very rewarding, getting a family into a home.
Oh,
Someone, a mom, dad, kids, or mom, kids, dad, kids, whatever the case may be. A family, when they're looking for a home, it means so much more to them because this is the place that they're going to make memories. This is where they're going to, build their have their fellowship and everything. So can you talk about a time within your market that you actually helped a family gain home ownership and talk about why it was so memorable for you?
oh man, I had a couple that they were moving from California in where it is absolutely, there's just the fires there all the time.
Hmm.
They said that they felt like that they were in a war zone because they parked backwards in their driveway so that they could get out fast. They had a go bag, ready to go in case, they said, it wasn't if
Jeez.
the fires came. It was really got to the point where, like, when the fire comes, it was getting bad. Um, yeah, we've got it
I
so
didn't
good
know that.
here,
Yeah,
Kevin.
that's what I did not know that. Goodness
Oh, it is
gracious.
so beautiful where we're at. And their kids happened to be coming to go to school at Interlochen, and that was almost secondary. They loved this area and wanted to come. And so we started looking. Once again, it was mostly virtual, but they were bringing their two teenagers
Mhm.
and their mother, who needed a space of her own, but so she needed to be close because she was getting older. But you don't ever want to just sit there and watch the same thing as your mom all day long. So they needed a separate space. So we had a lot of boxes to check off with this family. Finally, found them a place in Traverse City downtown area where it's walkable. They can walk to the bay, they can walk down Front Street, and they've got all those additional spaces for their family. And they're so happy here. Like, I they're posting pictures on social media all the time of everything that they're doing in this area. They're just happy. And then even the wife, her dad moved here. I helped him find a house after that, and so we had to find a place for
Nice.
him as well, not in their house, but in this area. So, we're not going to put all those people in the same house, but he
Mhm.
was just, it was great working with that family and then the extended family as well.
Right, right. Nice, nice. See, I love to hear about that because it's getting an entire family into a
Mhm.
residence, which is, obviously like you said, that time period between them actually getting in that place and where they were before, it's probably a rough patch of time. It wasn't the
Mhm.
easy. So, to finally get that chance to help an entire family has to be extremely exhilarating also.
No,
But
it definitely is.
But you kind of gave some examples in regards to kind of like extended family home in a
Yeah,
way, or kind of making it multi generational. That's kind of like a popular thing now,
yeah.
multi generational. How would you kind of like advise some of your clients in their some will even call it future proofing their investment? How do you advise them in regards to features, accommodations that a home could have to help them adjust to whether their children are leaving the home or they're getting some of their older parents in the home to kind of accommodate them?
Oh goodness, yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm in my mid 40s, and people around my age, this is our reality right now.
Hmm.
We've got kids that are graduating and they might need to move back home at some point. We have parents who are aging and they might not yet be at the space where they need to live with us, but we see it in the
Right.
next 10 years. So I tell people, look at the next 10 years, and we don't have to look forever into the future because it's really hard to tell. But if we look at things like, does your house have ground floor living? It can have multiple floors,
Mm.
but can you have ground floor living, or can you adjust the house in order to be accessible? Is there a space that you could have a completely separate living area for either your parents or your grown kids? Sometimes that's a basement. I love to find unfinished basements, especially when they have a walkout capability, because when you
Mm.
finish that, you can double the square footage of your house by finishing out your basements. These basements in Michigan, I didn't grow up with basements. These are amazing. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
I
such an
treasure.
opportunity, such a huge opportunity. And you can build that out how you want, or you find a place that's already built out that way. But
Hmm.
when they have a walkout onto the backyard, now not only do you have that secondary space, but that space feels more inviting. It has the light in it, and you could conceivably figure out a way to get to make that space accessible for somebody that is having mobility issues, such as aging parents, or anybody in your family that needs that feature. But it's you need to look also at zoning because
Mm.
sometimes you can
Hmm.
find a space that you could just build an accessory dwelling unit behind the house at some point, or turn your garage, or maybe build on top of your garage.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. Yeah.
lots and lots of options. So we want to check before you buy it, just to make sure that you can do what you want to do.
Hmm.
um, but keeping in mind those things. Another thing that I tell people, especially they whenever they start talking about they want it to be their forever home, that they want to be there for the long run, make sure that you can that there that there's health care close by. And if you have your parents moving,
It's a good point.
you don't
Very
want to
good
be
point.
so
Mhm.
far,
Mhm.
far away that an ambulance is going to take 30 minutes to get to
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
So that's another thing I tell people is, if you're when you're buying a home, you want it to be a long-term investment. You might not live there forever, uh,
yeah.
but you don't want to have to move in 3 to 5 years just because your whole situation has changed.
No, what yes, definitely. And I that was a great topic, question, and everything when I it was inspired by me doing some research on you. I was like, yeah, future proofing or multi-generational homes, whatever you want to call it. We all are going, I mean, God willing, you're going to go through that type of phase. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you have a family with kids, your kids are eventually going to grow up and leave an empty nest. And then you'll probably eventually get to the point to where your parents need certain care. Now, how you handle that could be either put them in some nursing home or some type of other type of elderly care, or ideally, I would like to have them in my home where I can take care of them. And you do want to consider the factors, having everything on one level, or at least have a room on one level,
Mhm.
having a wheelchair access or easy access, not too many stairs that they would have to go through, making sure you're near a hospital or some type of urgent care or some type of situation, that way you can easily get there in case of an emergency.
Yeah.
All great things to consider in those situations, by the way, and I'm glad
Yeah.
you batted that perspective.
And Kevin, I want to make sure that it doesn't ever sound like that multi-generational living is a bad thing. I mean, this is how
Oh
we
no,
all
no, no,
used
no,
to live,
no.
and we've all
Mm-hmm.
moved so far from
Yeah,
family. I think that we're often very isolated. We have isolated ourselves as a society, and it'd be great to be able to have that family connection again. And I think that's something that we have lost in this modern age where we're so far removed from
yeah.
people. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, but you do your part as an individual though,
yeah,
and you definitely do your part as a professional. So,
okay.
it's people like you that keep that going. I want to see if you have something to motivate us. Now, is there a movie, book, quote, or just philosophy that you live by? It kind of helps shape you personally or professionally that you can share with us.
Oh, 100%. I like to tell people that even while you're in the middle of like a situation, remember that the biggest train wrecks in your life are going to become the stories that you milk for decades.
Mm,
Just it might seem horrible right now, but that's going to become a story. And stories we tend to laugh at. We tend to look back and we start with time and distance, we start to see the absurdity and the humor in things.
mm-hmm.
So just
Mm-hmm.
keep in mind it will pass and you're going to have a good story.
That's well said. Yeah, time heals all. Even through pain. Even through pain, time can take you through it and have you look back and just reflect and just be grateful that you got through it, grateful that everything worked out for the best, or whatever the case, just get you to a point of acceptance or whatever the case may be. But that was well said. I could not have said it any better. Well, thank you. So perfect place to land a plane. Thank you so much. At this point, if you have any last words or want to tell people how to reach out to you, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm with Key Realty, and you can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Reach out, and I'd love to talk.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Sonya. We appreciate you. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you got into this point in the video, do us both a favor, hit that like button, please, and thank you. Make sure you also hit the share and subscribe button. We appreciate that. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And we always like to leave our audience with a question to get them thinking. So this is for you. How do you, or what did you do to adjust your home for either your children leaving or your parents coming there for your assistance? Tell us in the comments below. But besides that, we'll talk to you next time.